والأرض وهو الرحيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. صدق الله العظيم. الفاتحة.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين سيدنا مولانا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم ارحمنا، ارحم والدينا، ارحم أولادنا، ارحم أقربائنا، ارحم أصدقائنا، وارحم إخواننا في الله، واشف مرضانا، وارحم موتانا، وارحم أمة محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار وأدخلنا الجنة مع الأبرار يا عزيز يا غفار يا رب العالمين. وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. سر سورة الفاتحة. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. رب اغفر لي ولوالدي آمين. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد وأصحابه وبارك وسلم. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. You may proceed, Buddha Salie. I'll keep my remarks for the end, inshallah.
Inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala ali Sayyidina Muhammad wa ashabi wa barik wa sallim. Oh ya Allah, bless this occasion for us. Make it something that we all benefit from that we all benefit from. And we will hopefully, inshallah, be allowing questions at the end. And I just do want to appeal to people not to be shy to ask questions. Muhammad Fasih has just joined us now. And inshallah, we hope that that will also enrich the process. But I'm pleading to people to please not be shy to ask questions. We don't have all the answers, but if we don't have the answers, we will look for the answers and bring it to you even when we can, inshallah. So, Assalamu alaikum, Muhammad Fasih. Welcome.
Wa alaikum assalam. Wa alaikum assalam to everyone in the room. Apologies, I'm struggling a little bit with my technology today, but alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
I've made it. And I'm
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. We're very happy that you are here. The process will be, I will pause during the proceedings to allow Muhammad Fasih to come in to put questions for clarifications or make his comments or whatever. So that's the procedure we use. I think it worked fairly well last time, and we're going to proceed with that method. And I'm immediately going to jump into where I left off last time. Now, now I'm also busy struggling with the technology. Yes. Is that coming up there? I just thought it would be important to give the context of where we are. Now, I know that we did explain what the negating attribute is, that we are actually talking about the Sifaat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. One of the means of getting to know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is through His attributes. What we describe Allah with, that which belongs to Allah. And we said there are categories. The first category is the negating attributes. Now, negating doesn't mean that it is anything negative. The Sifaat, and there are 5 of them, they refute or deny or reject certain concepts of ever applying to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And those are the 5 that's on your screen. A beginning can never apply to Allah. End, it can never apply. Similarity is a very important one that we covered last week, that nothing is similar to Allah. So the similarity to anything in the entire creation, no matter what, ever applies to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, as far as our Tawhid is concerned, that already should make things easier for us. So if we say that, is that similar to Allah? If it's creation, and it must be creation, because if it's not Allah, it must be creation, then that can never apply to Allah. So nothing is similar to Allah, both in Allah's essence, as well as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's actions, or Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's names or sifat. Now, the one that we are going to come to now is the one of dependence, which is the 4th one. I prefer normally to put it up where the thing it's not like this, but like, let me just see if I can do this. No, I can't. I'm also hassled with technology, so let me just leave it up like that. Now, this is the fourth one that we are dealing with of the 5. But remember, the very first one was wujud, existence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which stands on its own. So there was 1 already done, but this is the 4th one in terms of the 5 negating sifat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Qiyamuhu bi nafsi, which in essence refers to that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is self-subsistent and self-existent. Now, those are big words, but we mustn't run away from it. I would advise you to go look it up in your dictionaries and wherever you look these things up, so that you can get the overall feeling of what this particular concept means, the sifat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is totally above need from anyone or anything. Now, when we say Allah is above need, nothing brings Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for example, into existence, which sounds rather obvious, that nothing brings Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala into existence. But if there was something that was required for Allah to exist, then that would have been a form of need. So even Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's very existence requires nothing for Allah to exist. Allah's existence is dependent on absolutely nothing. The opposite of that, if we apply it to creation, is that creation is entirely in need, not only for its existence. Existence only comes into being when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala creates existence. Before that, creation is non-existent. So creation, it's not only for its existence, but even after Allah has brought it into existence, then for every second of its existence, it requires Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to sustain that existence. And that is never required from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the distinction we make between existence and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when we talk about need must assist us and help us to clarify what this very important attribute of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala actually means. So if we say Allah is above need, it means also that Allah is not dependent on anything. Allah is totally self-reliant and self-subsistent. Now, to subsist, you've heard about the COVID-19 virus. The COVID-19 virus is a virus that cannot exist or live on its own. The virus is almost like a parasite. Once the virus enters the body, it attaches itself to the wall of the cells inside the body, and then when it attaches itself to the cell, then it feeds off the energy of the cell to such an extent that it then takes over the function of that particular cell. Now, without the cell, the COVID virus cannot exist. But that's an example of it cannot exist, so it is the opposite, exactly the opposite when we talk about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's existence is not attached to anything else for it to be completely independent. It relies on nothing and it exists completely independently. Now, before I go on to maybe the other three, Muhammad Fasih, maybe just to hear if there's anything you wish to clarify or wish me to clarify.
Assalamu alaikum once again, Salie and everyone. My question is then pertaining to what we've discussed. We're saying that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is above need, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is self-existent and requires no trigger. Allah requires no catalyst or no need. Allah has no need. So can we then say that by virtue of the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is this and mankind is entirely dependent, can we say then that one of the biggest sins is the fact that man is arrogant enough to say that I am? In other words, like even in our daily lives, people say, no, I did this, I made this, it's because of me, it's because of that. So man is creating a sense of this is me, and I take ownership of what I have and what I do and my will and my ability. So can we say then, if we look at how is man not competing in a sense with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through making those statements and through having that kind of thought about himself? If we look at Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as being perfect and us being reliant entirely.
Yeah, shukran Muhammad Fasih for the question. You see, we often forget that our total life is entirely dependent on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When we get up in the morning, we thank Allah that we're alive, but we think that we can now get on and do whatever we wish to do. We don't actually realize that every second and every single breath that we take is with the permission and the idhn of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Without that, we cannot exist. And yes, it's very true. We get up because we think we are strong. Ek voel gezond vandag. You think it's because you're feeling healthy that you can now get up. You think because you've not lost your job because of COVID-19 that your rizq is intact. Every single thing in our lives is under Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's direct control. And it's a grave sin to fall in that trap by thinking that we are independent. There are some people who actually believe in the early times when people were grappling with the issues of tasawwuf, some of the people in those times believed that the moment Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave them life, that they were in charge of their entire lives. All they had to do was account for what they do with their time. Now that is a grave error, because then you are actually saying that you are in charge and Allah's in charge. Those people, let me not go, that's just something that we will come to later. But let me go on to so that we don't fall foul of the time again. Let me go on to the other one with respect to this same Sifaat. The important thing, Muhammad Fasih, yes?
But Salie, I just wanted to mention, obviously we know that I think there's a half-an-hour time limit on Zoom. So people need to be prepared that this might go off at some point, and then people just need to sign in quickly so that we don't waste any time going forward. So just to prepare ourselves, because obviously we know Zoom does cut off like around about the half-an-hour mark, inshallah.
Yeah, shukran for that reminder. Shukran very much. The other thing that we have to realize is that Allah doesn't do anything whatsoever. It doesn't matter what we are talking about. You can say anything, you can mention anything, you can think of whatever you want. Allah does not do anything because there is a benefit in it for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or that there is a reward, or that there is a motive behind it, why Allah is doing it. There's no motive, there's no reward, and there's no benefit in every single thing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does. That motive, reward, and doing things for the benefit can only be done by human beings. That is never applicable to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So can we understand also in a sense why we are saying that the first 5 Sifaat that we are talking about other than wujud is that why it is said negating, it never applies motive, reward, benefit, dependence, need, never applies to Allah. It makes it clearer for us to understand. That's why it's referred to as negating Sifaat. The other thing, and this is a one that I must say is something that requires a lot more explanation, but I'm going to just touch very briefly on it by stating that Allah's divine state of perfection, when we say Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is absolutely perfect, it means there is nothing we can do to add to Allah's state or do anything that will affect Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's perfect state. Now I'm going to make a comment that's going to be required to be dealt with again afterwards, because it's a concept that can be applied. If you do wrong, evil things, you do evil things, is Allah unhappy with you? If you do good and you obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's orders, is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala happy with you? The simple answer to both questions would be yes. But look how sensitive this is. Listen very carefully, because if it's misunderstood, you might get the wrong impression. Are we saying that we can determine when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is happy or unhappy by what we do? Astaghfirullah. May Allah forgive us for even thinking that. Listen carefully to what I'm saying. And I want you to come in on this, Muhammad Fasih. We say Allah is happy with us or with certain things, or unhappy with happy with our good deeds, unhappy with our bad deeds. For us to understand what is pleasing to Allah, but in essence, in reality, nothing can change Allah's already perfect state. We are not able to, through our actions. Then in other words, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is waiting on us to do certain things or not do certain things, which then determines the already perfect state of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now I know this is not the easy thing, because one can apply it now to the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the reward, the punishment. How do we understand? I'm just laying the basis, because we're laying the basis now of how we should think, and we should not make the grave error of thinking that any of our actions, good or bad, can ever influence Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Muhammad Fasih.
But Salie, so just in trying to kind of break it down in perhaps maybe a more simpler fashion. If we look at the human being and the individual, they're motivated by certain things. They're motivated by certain payoffs, objectives, in a sense, and objectives. So, and also a human being is driven by his emotions. So when something affects him well, puts him in a good mood, he feels happy about it. Something affects him in a bad manner, puts him in a different state. So what Salie is saying, and the way I look at it, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not governed by those states, in a sense, whereby man is a slave to his emotions. You cannot go into the world and not be affected by something bad and not feel bad about it, or not experience something good and not feel good about it. But yet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is above the creation and the created, what motivates the creation. So therefore Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala remains in a specific state of perfection, where nothing can ever be added or taken away, and therefore nothing can ever motivate Allah's actions, nor can anything be, nor can Allah be led in any way.
Yes. Yeah. Did you also get that notice now? I just want to make this point. Imam Hussein, you also look as if you want to make a comment, but let me just respond by just saying to Muhammad Fasih. The point ultimately is that Allah's independence is such that it's completely separate from anything that Allah has created. Allah's self-reliance, self-existence, self-sufficiency, all of those things are such that whatever Allah wants to do or not do is firstly not dependent on what comes from creation, but creation on the other side cannot influence Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in any way whatsoever. Otherwise, we have a creator in this world that is waiting on things to happen in the universe, and that can change the creator from one state to another. It doesn't make sense. So even from a logical point of view, you should be able to understand our creator, the way we believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is outside and above the influence of any single thing that can emanate from creation. Subhanallah. Imam, did you want to make a comment? Or should I continue? I can't hear, your mic is off. Imam, your mic is off.
Yeah, more for that. If I can just add the creator and the creation. The creator is not subject to emotions like we are, you know. We get sad and we're happy and we, you know, these were created. We were created with these emotions, and it doesn't apply for Allah. It applies for creation, isn't it like that?
Yeah. Yeah, Allah is unlike, if we say desire or feelings or what we said, a motive, there's an objective of why I'm doing this with the objective of achieving something. That doesn't exist with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah doesn't do something
No.
in order to get something else. Allah also is not driven by a feeling of, if I do that, my slave is going to worship me better. Allah doesn't need that. Allah's perfection is above that. If we were all to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from the moment we are born till the moment we close our eyes, every single person in the entire creation does nothing else but worship and obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then it would do absolutely nothing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is already in an absolutely perfect state that cannot be altered up, down, or sideways. I'm going to switch over now. I had the notice, I don't know if you people also got the notice that the time is going to run out. And then I don't know, because I pressed record. I want to see if I need to first convert, but it's going to take me just a minute or two. So inshallah, if everyone agrees, unless there's anyone who has a different view, maybe we should then just conclude on this note. Is that okay?
Yeah, what we do, we just leave and then we come back in again.
Yeah, inshallah. Leave it on the spot, as Imam says, and then we just come back again, inshallah.